Hey friends, thanks so much for pushing play. We certainly do appreciate it. We have back on the line our friend Greg Mannarino from YouTube. He also has a site called traderschoice.net. His YouTube channel is Gregory Mannarino. Greg, how are you?
I am great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey man, thanks for coming back. I want to talk to you a little bit today about our fear-based economy. And I say that because even people with jobs, if they're awake to what's going on, Greg, are living in fear. Target has just recently laid off 2,250 people. They've closed another 1,400 open positions that will not be hired. Baker Hughes has laid off 7,000. eBay is laying off 2,400 in the first quarter 2015. American Express dropping 4,000 jobs. Schlumberger losing 9,000 jobs. And meanwhile, Gregory, the average Wall Street bonus in 2014 was $172,860. Gregory, it seems to me that there is a dichotomy between Wall Street and the reality. Wall Street tells us everything is great, and certainly those folks get to line their pockets while the rest of us live in fear. What's your take on the current state of the economy?
I've been doing a lot of talk about things lately, and it pertains exactly to what you are talking about right here. White is black, black is white, up is down. Nothing is real here. And what we're living in is by any measure a twisted reality for most, which is being force fed down the throats of the average person through the mainstream outlets, who are trying exceedingly hard to convince everyone that we're in an economic recovery, that our economy is booming, that we're doing well. And this is an absolute falsehood. I mean, as you know, and I'm more than certain that your listeners understand, if you just look at two simple metrics here, the money velocity, which I talk about all the time, I beat it down like a dead horse. This is at historic lows. Cash is moving through an economy is at historic lows. You cannot have an economic recovery whatsoever with money, cash not moving through an economy. We have a labor force participation rate also at historic lows here. So this is just more of the same nonsense here. Wall Street has and continues to distort everything in collusion with the policymakers, in collusion with the Federal Reserve, stock buyback programs, manipulating the market in every way possible that they can conceive of in ways which we can never even think of yet. And it's a very dangerous situation that we're in right now. I don't think people understand how dire it is. Again, this false economic recovery of which there is none. I don't care how many jobs they want to tell us that they're creating. If we have a labor force at historic lows and money velocity at historic lows, we have nothing, and things are only going to get worse from here.
Gregory, I have a couple of dear friends, both of whom are professionals, both of whom are between the ages of 45 and 55, both of whom who had done very well in their respective industries, making good money for a very long time, and both of whom who now find themselves unemployed. I think that the labor force participation rate that you made note of there needs to be flushed out a little bit for listeners. Most people are aware of our listeners, Gregory, that nearly 100 million people are out of the workforce. Is that what you're talking about when you say labor force participation rate? Because again, the folks in Washington try to tell us with a straight face, unemployment in this nation is only 5.5%, which means if you want a great job, go out and get it.
Exactly. They don't want to. What they're doing here is simply not counting people anymore. If people are looking for work for X amount of time, they don't find a job, they just don't count them anymore. Or if they drop out, they stop looking for a job, they're not counted anymore. It's just a play on numbers. That's all this is. It's all part of this grand manipulation that is staggering. Look at what the world central banks continue to do. This, cutting the interest rates, going negative now, charging people cash in their institutions. This is coming to America. I am more than certain about this. This Federal Reserve rate hike, which we may get or whatever down the line. I believe the Federal Reserve, the only reason why they're going to act is because they feel like they have to keep the false narrative going. And I think they're going to have to reverse that if they decide to do that, when they decide to do this at one particular time. It's just a game they're playing to keep the stock market higher at this point, because all they're going to do is engineer a massive sell-off in this market. It's coming. always do this for their Wall Street friends here. They inflate bubbles, they deflate bubbles. That's it. And while the middle class gets systematically destroyed, and this is where they need to keep the narrative going.
Yeah, the middle class is getting destroyed along with our Constitution, and now the apparatus, this war on terror, is being turned around on the people. I'd like to read this to you to get your opinion on. I started the interview by saying this is a fear-based economy. Not only are you living in fear of losing your job if you have a good one, you are living in fear of an apparatus, a fascist apparatus, now being turned around on the people. Gregory, I think more than 50 cents of every dollar collected is going to the Pentagon, and I can't think of a better example of a fascist situation than that. What's become of our republic, I think, leaves many of us who are informed in tears. Let me read you this from our friend Susan Duclos over at All News Pipeline. From July 15th to September 15th of 2015, the U.S. Army's Green Berets, U.S. Navy SEALs, U.S. Marines Special Ops Command, and U.S. Air Force Special Ops Command will be taking part in Jade Helm 15. 8 weeks of nighttime drills in 7 states in the southwestern portion of America, in which the states of Texas and Utah are both labeled hostile territory in the drills, as outlined in more detail in the U.S. Army Special Ops Command documents, which she embeds below in this story. Gregory, we've seen these drills time and time again, and we don't have to dwell on it, nor on past drills, but I just want to drive the point home that as dire as things are getting in this economy, there seems to be plenty of money for the Pentagon, for the Department of Homeland Security, and for drills like these. And I think it really is a canary in the coal mine for how late the hour is for this republic.
Absolutely, and I'm really glad you brought that up. I've been screaming from rooftops for a very, very long time that there is a clear reason why we are one nation under surveillance, why we are being watched from every street corner, why there's cameras everywhere, why the police have been militarized in every state in the union. This is my take on this, seriously, and it's kind of been my premise forever now, is we are entering a time where resources are going to become scarce. Again, it all goes back to the bubble in debt, which is not just a financial problem. This is a resource issue. And we're seeing this now, when the bubble in debt actually cracks and we cannot borrow from the future anymore to get necessary resources, pandemonium is going to break out in the streets of every nation on earth, including the United States. This is what they're preparing for. They have known about this for a very, very long time. There's no doubt about this in my whatsoever. I can't see a scenario, and I ponder this constantly, where this will not unfold in this manner here. It's all connected to this bubble in debt. Everything, the hyper bubble in debt has created this hyper bubble in equities, and they forced everyone they can into a risk-on environment, and this is going to melt down so badly that, again, I can't envision a scenario where we are not going to eclipse every single other crash we have ever seen by multiple fold. So you can see how this is going to affect the people and why police are being militarized, have been militarized, why we are one nation under surveillance now. They are preparing for something big, and we are darn close, in my opinion.
Well, it's so scary because we know something's wrong, and you've just quantified it for us. Through this report, through what you've just said, you and I and the listeners know what's wrong. We can put our finger on it. The problem is, Gregory, is a lot of our friends, neighbors, and colleagues cannot. And if you take a look at what happened after the Boston Marathon bombing, people wanted to celebrate the police lockdown in Boston because to them, they were their city was being secured by the great and good and wonderful police and Department of Homeland Security and the security apparatus. And it's frightening, Gregory, because I don't use the term Nazi willy-nilly, but we are rapidly falling into a Nazi-esque fascist situation where people previously thought to be good will be standing up and supporting some of the most draconian, awful, nightmarish things that we can imagine. I mean, literally, if we can't prevent drills like this from happening, if we can't wake up the military, if we can't wake up those who would otherwise take part in fascist activities, what chance do we have?
We have the prospects are very dire. I have a lot of friends of mine who have been in the military. I was in the military, and we've pondered this at length here. And I think that when this comes down, we can expect half of the military to go along with what they're told to do. Isn't going to allow this to happen. I've urged and practically begged fellow service people to not allow this to happen, to not allow the rounding up of people. Again, there's no way out of this, in my opinion. A absolute worst case scenario. I used to try to say, maybe it won't get as bad, but just referring to what you said here, people are willing to give up everything. They've been so indoctrinated, so brainwashed, so zombified into the paradigm now, again, of fear. And this is something we've seen throughout history, how governments use fear as a mechanism to control the people. This is nothing new. It always works. It always works. There's a famous quote from Hermann Goering about this, speaking about Nazis, where he talks about it's easy to drag the people along by just inciting fear in them,
Right.
Into anything that you want them to do.
That's right.
That says a lot. That says a lot to me.
Yeah, and Hitler, I believe, said the bigger the lie, the more apt the people are to believe it. And, it seems that the drills that turn live and, we deem them false flags because time and time again we're proven to be right. That's exactly what Hitler was talking about. We know after World War II, under Operation Paperclip, a whole lot of bad guys were brought here, went to work for NASA, went to work for the government, and I don't necessarily believe that the Nazis who we are told we fought against in World War II were defeated in totality. Let me ask you this, Gregory. I think one of the glimmers of hope, I'm always looking for a glimmer of hope, is that the world, our former allies, our current allies under NATO, are starting to turn against this government, starting to turn against this government's hand in the World Bank, the IMF. We're seeing the China Infrastructure Development Bank, the formation of that bank announced by China, is now finding support by France and Germany and Italy and all of those U.S. allies who should otherwise be saying no to China. They're saying yes because I think even those nation states are getting awfully tired of the economic tyranny wielded by the U.S. government. What's your take?
Absolutely agree, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. No doubt about this. That may be the glimmer of hope here. But what I see happening, and we already see this unfolding now, is global strife, and they're going to bring us to war. They are going to bring us to a major war. This is it. This is the plan here. I've done videos about this. I've spoken about this. I've done, I have a Seeking Alpha blog. I talk about this as well. But I think things before there's no doubt in my mind, again, they're going to get extreme bad before any of this turns around here. And I do believe that the grand scheme, the grand plan here is to bring us to another war, to see how this thing plays out. Because they're not going down without a fight. There was no doubt about it. Just going back to the issue in China and this new bank issue, the U.S. dollar, they're going to fight any kind of threat against this. We've seen this before. The entire Vietnam War was fought for two reasons and two reasons only: to establish a fiat monetary system and the petrodollar. Had nothing to do with anything else. Every life lost and sacrificed was for those purposes. We could continue this. There's no doubt about it. So we can expect things to get extremely bad here globally, and we already see this unfolding. We're told that we're in some type of a global recovery. Meanwhile, we have wars breaking out all over the place. And there's no real mechanism to stop it. I think it's being fueled on purpose, and they're going to, unfortunately, I hate to have to say this, there's going to be another huge false flag event that's going to get the zombified American people to back it. They do this all the time, you know that, and they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Where, when, and how, who knows? But I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah, it's a replicatable formula just so long as the people remain asleep. Now, it's not a replicatable formula for those of us who are awake, and who have examined the events of Sandy Hook and 9/11 and the 7/7 bombings and the underwear bomber and so many other of these events, the Boston Marathon bombing. It does not work once you're awake. Once the genie's out of the bottle, you can recognize the puppet masters and the men behind the curtain. Unfortunately, you're right, Greg. I do believe that most of the American public is more than happy to fall for the next event as well, especially if the event is narrated in a way that makes them believe that their interests are being supported, and their interests are so often tied to Wall Street. One of the things that I also want to bring up is that I recently posted a wonderful presentation from Catherine Austin Fitts. I titled it Absolute Must Watch. Catherine Austin Fitts Explains It All, The Black Budget Fascist Machine. I highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, Google it and listen to it. It's 1 hour and 22 minutes long, and Catherine Austin Fitts, speaking from her direct experience and involvement in the government, explains how this fascist machine works, how they are fleecing us, how they are offshoring trillions and trillions and trillions on purpose because this system can't be fixed and the men behind the curtain know it. There's a fascist entity in charge of our government, and at the end of the day, Gregory, that's what you and I are trying to expose in an effort to wake up friends, neighbors, and colleagues. But it's damn difficult, isn't it? It's hard to get people to wake up.
It's incredible. The first book I ever wrote, never published it, many, many years ago, was titled America Under Control. In that book, I actually stated that underneath their suits, they're still wearing swastikas. And I had let people read that manuscript, and they told me, Greg, you're going to get killed. They said, if this gets out, people are going to shoot you. And I scrapped the whole project. But these are facts here. Hitler's Third Reich, in my opinion, is alive and well right here in the United States today.
Well, yeah, and I tend to think you're right, Gregory. At the top of the pyramid is a group of fascists. Call them Zionists, call them neocons, call them what you like, but whatever they are, they certainly are not constitutionalists who are beholden to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and that's why we're seeing drills like Jade Helm 15, the 8 weeks of nighttime drills in 7 states, beginning on July 15th.
It's unbelievable, and it's so frightening. I mean, seriously, I hate to sit here. I really do, and a lot of people are going to take away from this that we're fear mongers, that we're trying to scare people. But either you live in a box or you try to think outside the box. And that's why this people like you and me and the people that are listening to this that get it, we're direct threats to them. We are direct threats to them. My channel was destroyed. I lost every single piece of work just about a month or so ago I've ever done. Just got, someone got into my channel. I'm still waiting to hear back from YouTube about this. I have no answers. They keep jerking me around. I don't know. At first I was like, well, it was them. Then I was like, well, no. Maybe some other person hacked into my channel. I don't know what happened. And I'll never find out, I don't think. It's very frustrating. I almost gave up on this, I'll be honest with you. I almost gave up here. I almost decided I was quitting. I was not doing this anymore. And they almost got to me. Whoever did this, whoever's out there and is listening, you almost got to me, but I didn't let that happen. I decided to get out here and start doing it again. I mean, I think all of us here are direct threats who get it. And and they're going to do what they have to do, I think, to try to punish us. And that's frightening.
So did you have to start a new YouTube channel?
Well, I ended up getting my old channel back, but all my work is gone. Every single thing I've ever done. I mean, that was a blow to me. It's stunning. And like I said, I don't know if I can get any. I don't save my work. Usually when I do a video, I post it, I delete it. Mm-hmm. I learned from that. Now I save every single thing, every piece of work, everything I do. I save it now on my computer. So if this ever happens again, I can at least re-upload all my work.
Yeah, it's tough. I know from firsthand experience, getting a hold of anyone at YouTube or Google is really impossible. They not only make it difficult, they literally make it impossible. There are no phone numbers. There's no emails. It's very generalist. I'm not sure, for those who have had success getting a hold of anybody at YouTube after their channels have been unjustly taken down, I have no idea how they do it. I've never been able to get a hold of a single person at YouTube.
It's a nightmare. It really is. And, I don't even care anymore. At this point here, I've decided to say, you know what, whatever. Move forward here until my channel gets attacked again. I mean, I have a little system in place here where I continually rotate passwords and stuff like that now. So maybe that'll make a difference. I don't know. It probably won't. But I'm trying. I'm trying.
Yeah, well, all we can do is keep our feet to the fire. All we can do is keep trying and not give up. I think before we let you go, I would like to ask you about hyperinflation. Martin Armstrong has said the same thing that our friend Andy Hoffman has been saying for a very long time, which is first it will be deflation, then inflation. There will be no way around it. We're seeing it in foodstuffs. We're seeing it in all sorts of areas of our common everyday lives, with the exception of maybe energy prices and gas. And that's a blessing for so many. What do you see about the potential for hyperinflation on the horizon? John Williams from Shadow Stats has been saying for a very long time 2016 is the target year he's had.
I have spoken about and actually been interviewed about this same thing, and I actually answered it the same exact way. The inflationary period is going to give way to massive inflation here. There is no way out of this. What people need to understand is it's a very simple concept. We have world central banks, none more so than the Federal Reserve, who has inflated their balance sheet to the point of beyond ridiculousness, printing cash out of thin air. And at one particular time, all of these printed extra dollars or bills, wherever they're coming from, is going to make its way to the consumer side of the monetary base. The reason why we have not seen that as of yet, the main reason is, again, the money velocity. With money velocity being so low, with cash not moving around the economy, it hasn't yet made its full force onto the main side, the consumer side of the monetary base. When that happens, and it will, you could have all of these extra bills chasing the same amount of goods, and what do you get? Massive and possibly even hyperinflation. The Federal Reserve is pressed into a corner here. They cannot contract the money supply, especially in a raising rate environment. Who's going to buy the bonds from them? How are they going to do it? They can't. So they're pressed into a bad spot. And I can't imagine a way out of this. Again, this deflationary environment is multiple fold, but the main reason is because of the money velocity, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, here's my final question for you, and I really want your opinion. I've recently given up on thinking, so I was watching CNN and listening to every word Wolf Blitzer was telling me with bated breath, and of course taking it all, at gospel truth, because Wolf is such a wonderful reporter. And he was telling me that Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton are the two front runners for president in 2016, and I'm having a really hard time deciding between the two. They both seem like such great people. Gregory, which one would you pick, Hillary or Jeb?
How about a new government? I just can't stand the whole mechanism. I think both parties are part of the same disgusting mechanism right now.
Right.
And I tell you, regardless of what they feed to the public, I think they're both conspiring in the same direction, no matter how this goes. And they don't matter. The agenda is still the same.
That's right.
So, and I don't even care who gets the top seat. It doesn't matter in this environment anymore. This is a government that is clearly geared against the people, and they're going to do everything in their particular power and things that we can't even conceive yet to twist this more against everyone. That's my take on it. It doesn't matter anymore who gets the top seat at all. It's all the same thing.
Amen. And the reason I brought up the criminal names of the Bush family and the Clinton name in this conversation is because that is the best, literally the single best example of how far gone our nation is when the Mockingbird mainstream media can tell us that these two essentially criminal crime families are still being set up to run for the next time there is a presidential election. And I can assure everyone listening I will not be voting in 2016 should those two be the nominees for the GOP and the Democratic slot.
Crazy, man.
Well, our guest, guys, has been Gregory Mannarino. You can find his work on his YouTube channel at Gregory Mannarino. Anywhere else you'd want people to check you out there, Greg?
Yeah, the main site people should go to is traderschoice.net. You can find everything on there. Actually, all my work. I also urge people to download my free 197-page ebook. It's absolutely free. There's no catches here. Just go there and download it and read it, and you can get a grasp on, I think, some more of what we're talking about.
Very good. The website is traderschoice.net. And what was the name of the ebook?
Ultimate Guide to Money in the Markets. It's right on the first page of the website.
Okay, very good. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and a heartfelt thanks to our regular commenters at SGT Report and in the comments below the YouTube channel. I feel very grateful that so many people do pitch in and say nice things and leave comments and leave us insights. It really means the world to me, and I just want to thank everybody for that. I also want to thank our guest, Gregory Mannarino. Greg, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
All right, friends, have a terrific week, and thanks for supporting us at sgtreport.com. Bye-bye.